Hello and welcome, internet dwellers and Denzians and humansies. This is the Tech Off Topic podcast. Well, video cast in reality, because you can see my face and flap my jaws. And we're also going to be having somebody else who's famous for flapping his gob on the internet joining me as per usual. It's Jim Seconde.
Thanks for that intro, Mike. Yes, it sadly is true that I'm famous for flapping my jaws.
I wasn't lying. I also wasn't being completely inappropriate because we both do it for a living.
That's true. It's very much sort of motor mouth central, isn't it?
There are people we know that are worse, but none of them are available on the internet.
Probably too busy flapping their jaws elsewhere.
But yes, so this is reboot number 3 or 4 for the podcast.
We're definitely going to get around to it. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, we now have to get around to it because there's a scheduled event in our Google calendars. So therefore, it has to happen because the Googles say so.
To be fair, that you told me to do that like months ago, and it took me about 2 months to remember to make a calendar invite.
And also that's kind of my fault as well, isn't it? Yeah. Well, what have I done to make sure that we record this regularly? Pretty much nothing. But
we are both at fault.
If it's there, it's just like for those of you that might just be in engineering and not in the developer relations space. The bad news that comes into this is when you're in the developer relations space, you have no time to do anything ever. And the requirements for the job are to do all of the things all of the time.
That's pretty accurate. So, for those of you who are new around here, I am Mike Elsmore. I am a developer advocate at InfoSum, and I started this madness. And we have...
I'm Jim Seconde. Hello, everyone. And I'm a senior developer advocate. My job title says so, in PHP at cloud communications platform Vonage.
And
what's happening here, in case anyone wants to know, is that Mike's trying to work out the shtick that he can give me for what I just said because there's senior in my title.
Oh, it's not that. It's just because I know I'm Billy Big Bollocks bigger than him because I'm lead developer advocate, and I skipped that part to try and save him some face. And no, he decides to dive straight in.
That's the first time I've ever said I'm going to say this as if I'm very important. We do the same job.
No, to be brutally honest, Jim does more than me because Jim also does actual engineering as part of his job, whereas I don't. So when it comes to you don't code anymore, Jim does, I don't. So people can give me shit for it.
There's trade-offs in this as well. So yeah, okay, yes, I do engineering for actual consumers, but then. Also, like, unlike Mike, I have like an entire team behind me.
I think that's the trade-off.
And you're a one-man band, so it's very different.
It's a good thing I'm tone deaf. But
I'm gonna let you ride that one out.
Anyway, so this is Tech Off Topic, and we talk about technology, and it ends up going off topic. The rule of thumb is nobody in chat, because we do have live chat for this, mention Birmingham, because then you're just going to put 20p in Jim.
So we had a team meeting. I'm trying to sort of post the link to the live broadcast to a couple of people in my team who will sadly, even if they do join, will miss this. This seems to be a theme that's now continued to our team meetings as well, where they're like, the director of DevRel at Vonage is like, oh, please, can we do it in Birmingham just so we can like go and poke Jim? Apparently Jim talks about Birmingham, etc., etc. I don't know how this has come about. This doesn't happen with anybody else.
It's because of a certain set of commentary, and you're
like where I live,
city-centric. You don't live in Birmingham.
We're not getting to that because then that it's complicated boundary matters that almost all the audience are not going to care about at all.
Nobody in the audience cares about. I don't care, but I know it winds you up.
I don't either, to be honest.
It's fine. But so, shall we get on with the technology side of things?
Yes,
we're
yes,
6 minutes into a broadcast and we haven't even picked up a tech.
Apparently, I mean, I was told when coming onto this that it was a tech podcast. We'll see what happens.
To be fair, I am actually just going to be a nice person, and I'm actually going to say Jim did an amazing job emceeing last week at Fusion.
I thank you. I'm now nervous because you're being nice to me. Why are you being nice to me?
Starters, you mean to carry on. Also, it means when I slap you with something, it's going to be real hard.
Oh, so what you mean is it's gonna get worse down the line. By the way, the link that you sent me to put out to everyone is like a dead link. Yeah, no, it doesn't work.
Did I manage to cack up my own Twitch handle?
It looks like it's going to some sort of Chinese website. It's twitch.tc. That's not Twitch's.
No, that's because I fat fingered it, and it should be twitch.tv. This is what happens when you. The C and V do live next door to each other on a keyboard, which I should know, as they are the most common keys I press from Stack Overflow.
Of course, because that's what we do as developers all day.
It may be a stereotype, but it's true.
Yes. The interesting part of my job, I do have to go on Stack Overflow and answer questions. And what happens mostly is somebody asks a question where you inevitably need to know more information, and then you say, "It looks like you're trying to do this. Is this what you're trying to do?" And nothing ever gets posted ever again. That's my Stack Overflow life.
But yeah, okay. So now you've got the valid link posted. Shall we begin talking some tech?
Yes, we have an agenda. We are organised.
Well, we don't have an agenda. We have a bunch of bullet points, and anybody is welcome to either chime in, give opinions, or throw in their own thing into the mess. But I actually think we should start with the second bullet point and just get out of the way.
Okay. But bearing in mind, so this week has been a bit of a humdinger. I say this week. I mean, the bullet point you've listed is not. It's been going on for a month, but or a bit longer. But most of the stuff in our agenda is all hot potato stuff because it's been a bit of a trash fire week in tech, hasn't it? Really. But it turns out that anyone that thinks that venture capitalist money from the US to fund your everlasting startup that's been a scale up for 4 years and has unicorn potential, that the bottom seems to have disappeared out of it because lots of people are now being laid off.
And it's not just from a single vertical either. So normally in this space, it's always in a specific vertical of high income sort of stuff. This is everything there. It's advertising bodies, telecommunications platforms, infrastructure engineering companies. So it's a mixture of B2C, B2B, and B2D. I
haven't really. The only ones that I've seen are the ones that are most visible to me. So I've seen. So the ones that are most prominent to me are Klarna and Lacework. But also there was one high profile one at Twilio.
There's Twilio, but there was Loom that laid off a bunch of people.
Oh yes. Bolt. Did Bolt have a?
Bolt had a little bit of one. Meta froze hiring and started laying off some departments. It's all over the bloody shop, my dude.
But what's happening? So what do you know about outside of the usual kind of engineering space? Because I've not heard about that before.
You mean not B2D companies? So technically, Loom is a B2B company. It's not really a developer tool. It's for marketers and people, stuff like that. So they laid off their DevRel department. Mutru and a couple of others got laid off.
Oh, the thing I the thing I always notice about this when this kind of there's another question of whether we're heading for a wider tech bubble is now that developer relations is a thing, and like it's taken about sort of 7 or 8 years to really sort of mature to this is a discipline you hire for this role, for this kind of this thing that we do, and we have these bespoke skill sets. That now when you get a bubble and it starts bursting, the indicators that weren't there before in the 2000s bubble are here now, which is watch the developer relations team at X company. If they're the first to get laid off, here we go. Because I think it's like the hardest to prove value, and it's expensive. And so it's probably not surprised that it seems like DevRel is like before your engineers and your marketing department and your financial department, they're the first out the door, right?
Well, I've seen in some of the companies, it's not just been DevRel; it has been a mixture of engineering growth, and people ops. So people have laid off talent acquisitions because, like, well, if they're not hiring, why do they need talent?
Which is a shame, because the amount, every experience I've had with somebody in internal recruitment. In fact, this came up with a chat with some mates of mine earlier, actually, which was, I want to just drop a name in it, but like just as like a sort of big up. But she was internal recruitment for an agency here called Black Cat, Ali something, but every interaction that I've had with internal recruitment, the recruiters have been fantastic. And then the rest of it, as we all know, is sort of Wild West, right? Hello, I see that your skills are in JavaScript and PHP. I have a COBOL job, and it's in Antarctica, and it's a contract for 2 months. Would you like this? No, not would you like this. When can we arrange a talk about hiring you for this? Like, you don't have an option. The email doesn't give you an option. It's just like, we're going to speak about this. You're going to take the COBOL job, Jim. You're going to have it. And you're like, can you just go away? So internal recruitment seems to be so much more kind of a pleasant experience.
And the thing that gets me is, so good talent acquisition team usually requires relationships with a whole bunch of different parts of the company, and, like, to be brutally honest, need to not be a jackass in the wider tech circle if they're trying to hire tech.
Yeah, that's true.
Which means you don't want to just pick somebody out at random. Like, we're just going to pick up a random Reed recruiter and have them as our internal talent acquisition. They're going to be a shit show day one. Fuck that. Keep the guy around. Admittedly, remove all form of bonuses and stuff, because you do need to conserve funds. But, like, if you know you're going to be hiring in 6 to 12 months, just have them hiring the essentials.
We've not even been live that long already. The language is just taking a turn for the worst.
This is me. This is a given.
You've been really good on some of these podcasts in the past.
Yeah, true.
So that's. Sorry, your swearing's put me off. Actually, I was going to say, I've got some really good observation to make. But instead, you're like, oh no, Mike has just gone down the sweary path. It's one of the things that I find. One of the things I really want to know, and you'll never know the answer to this, is, do senior management and C-level executives at mostly larger tech organizations, to be honest, even if I think of our local agencies, the same thing applies. Do you sometimes feel that they think we don't talk to each other? Because I've never understood this. So we're going through a firing phase where the VC capital is going dead. Companies that have been massively overvalued or have expanded too quick and are just running out of runway too quickly.
Yeah.
And now just laying off. But then companies that have already done all those layoffs before there's a particular one that comes to mind that have then started the hiring cycle again. Like, for instance, a company that deal with a communications company that then think, do you know what, this developer relations thing, we should create a team behind that. And you're like, this is the fourth time we've tried to do this, and you're hiring again. Do they think that we all don't talk to each other like at sea level?
I don't think it's sea level. I think that it's just oh, they won't care. They're gagging for the money. It's like, some of us maybe, but you know what? Some of us, the vast majority of us, even those of us that are going, oh God, I really need a new job, will still go, but not for you, buddy boy.
It's like the classic sort of you reap what you sow has got to be meta, hasn't it? Because I mean, that's not even niches within sort of developer relations. That's just like engineering, but then the philosophical concept of the whole thing, and Zuckerberg and his stupid hoodie, and everyone knows you're like,
Says the boy wearing a hoodie.
you know, it's got the company name on. You know, I've got to wear the uniform. Like for them, like when you're like, okay, this is a company that's eroding kind of democracy as we know it. Please come and work for us. Do you know what we have? We have lots of money, and everyone's like, we know you have lots of money, but also, I'm not a terrible person. It's like an extreme privilege thing that, okay, you know, we get to make decisions and pick these things, and I think they're just going to have to start sort of hiring juniors on like sort of silly salaries, aren't they?
My brain just went, have lots of money, but we're not evil. It's like, but you say that, but I know for a fact that I am evil.
Everyone. Do you think anyone that works in the world of tech doesn't recognize the words Cambridge Analytica? Everyone knows what that is. So
actually, you'd be surprised. There are people who have forgotten what the fallout of all that was. It genuinely, though,
really?
be talking to people, it's like, do you not know why and how this was so terrible?
Okay, nobody should forget that, because that's at the,
well, to be fair,
heart of
the Cambridge Analytica at this point was 6-7 years old, because it was 2015, 2018, I think.
It was, yeah, around about. It was founded about 2005 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, but the actual like
consultancy
giant explosion wasn't till a while ago, right?
Yeah, which was it was just after Brexit and Trump. So you know, not that ship has sailed for discussion, and that's not. I would say that's not tech, but is it? I don't know. Is this art?
Jesus, but there's that's an NFT question, right?
Oh, well, and also everyone, we really happy to know we don't have any NFT content this time, because as I said when I was comparing my last event a week ago at Fusion, you can't make jokes out of it because you don't need to, because they're so ridiculous. What's the latest article on Web3 is going great?
Oh God.
Right,
I think we've ranted about this layoffs. The one last point I'm going to say is I think, and this is going to be a hot take, that yes, we as a global economy, and especially in the tech sector, are in a recession. There's no escaping it.
But okay, like so, yeah, there's talk about a global recession, which is really on the cards. But the thing I want to know is does that include a tech bubble that is about to pop? Because it feels like it is.
I think that you know how they went, oh, the pandemic is just going to mean the places with really bad business practices are going to collapse first.
Yeah,
I think this is going to cause the same thing with VC-backed stuff, because the pandemic actually was a real boon for VC-backed stuff, because it turned out, oh crap, everybody's stuck at home. Technology will power us through.
Yeah,
dump shitloads more cash.
All the NFT stuff, just like kind of like, the crypto exchange stuff like that. Before they did the layoffs, this is part of what
Coinbase had
layoffs
as well.
Coinbase was what I was about to go.
Coinbase.
maybe they should be called that as like a joke name. What was it? They had like, was it 3,000 engineers or something mad? And you're like, what are they doing? What are they doing all day? That's insane levels of employment.
Okay, that's actually fecking nuts.
Have you not heard this?
No, I knew they laid off like
There's-
hundreds of people, but like
There were Twitter threads about like, and I saw sort of follow-ups to it where people were saying, I still can't get my head around like what X thousand Coinbase employees, like engineering, were actually doing in terms of engineering.
I know
But yeah.
Coinbase, they planned to have 2,000 engineers by 2022 in
Instead,
product engineering and design. And this article was on the Coinbase blog from Medium in February this year.
it's such a frightening eye opener, isn't it? Like a looking glass into how fragile that these things are in reality.
It's like my ego. It's really big but very fragile.
Is it that easy? I feel that you've managed to sort of get a bit of a thicker skin. I mean,
that's just because of the amount of trolls I deal with on a nearly daily basis.
Well, also going on stage is not fun, right?
You say that, I love it.
One event, a virtual event that I did in East Asia, I did a 35-minute talk about an API technology that would help with your testing, and the first question was, "What does this thing do?"
Christ.
What do you say to that? I don't know. I mean, do you want to watch it back for 35 minutes because I explained what it did? That was the talk. Either you don't understand what I'm talking about, or I am really, really bad at doing my job in terms of trying to educate you. It was very strange.
I am saying literally nothing.
Good, because the next topic is equally. Do you know what? This one, everyone's talking about this, and most people will tune out now because they get bored. Are probably bored of it. I think everyone in tech is bored of it already.
The thing is, it's actually something I think that's worth talking about. Evening, Moggy.
Yes, my cat is here, obviously, to say hello.
Right.
Do you want to do the intro to this? It's the inevitable topic that was going to come up if we're talking about tech this week.
Yeah. So this week, GitHub's Copilot has gone out of beta and into full release, and thus you are now being charged either $10 a month or $100 a year for access to Smart Autocomplete. Now,
from a UX perspective, we did talk about this before we started the show. You have used it, presumably in a JavaScript flavor. I have not used it in a PHP flavor.
I've used it in Golang as well.
What is the? Oh, okay, and Golang. What is the actual UX experience of it? Did it help you?
Now, this is where I will say.
Let's start with the product first of all before we get onto the ethics.
So it's just it. So I was treating it like autocomplete, tab completion in VS Code, which it was actually really, really quite good at for small things. And when it got it right, it was bloody perfect. The problem is when it was trying to be too smart for its own flipping good, it would try typing out between 5 and 15 lines of code and guessing it for you. Now, I'm sorry, but guessing which function names and calls I need next, or like variable names I need, etc., is an absolute, not a flipping chance for large chunks of logic. It's just, here we're going to copy and paste it. We're not even going to invert any of the logic. It's just going to be copy and paste. This is an else statement, my dude. It should be flipping something. So having to then spend 5 minutes unpicking what it's done, However,
That
with
is
the
a waste
initial
of time.
learning, with the initial learning Go stuff, when you don't know what you're looking for at all, absolute boon.
So the UX experience sounds like it should be more constrained to smart autocomplete. I mean, this is the reason why in PHP, to me, PHP Storm is like an unrivaled IDE in that its smart autocomplete is just light years ahead of anything that VS Code or NetBeans or Eclipse do. It can just read your code very, very smart, but it does what the tool is designed to do, which will help you read classes. It will help you read what is available. It'll help you read function arguments and things like that. Trying to write your code for you, for anyone, it puts my mind at ease because there was all this kind of like this was a little bit of a fear mongering of Skynet on the way, but at the end of the day, if anyone's worried, it has parallels with that Google engineer that got sacked, that was talking about whether the Google AI was sentient. And you're like, if you look into it, it's not really sentient, is it? It's doing exactly what it was programmed to do. It just sounds alarming to you because it looks like it is. It's not.
It's obviously super intelligent, Copilot's going to take all our jobs.
It's like, is it like an Alexa UI? Copilot, hello, Jim. Tell me your idea. Can you build me an app? What stack would you like? I'll tell you what. I'll go for Django. I'll go sort of svelte front end, and it's for lawyers to purchase wigs. I'll give you the details about the wig manufacturers, and then we'll get VC backed money. We need a sign up rate of this for the free tier. This is not going to happen, is it? We're still going to have jobs. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an opinion of like, for those who've used it, GitHub Copilot is actually usable and actually has some value and use. Now here's the sticky one. This is tech. No, I do believe it's sticky because some people are.
Well, it's split people, so you know there's it's a hot potato when it's properly split people, and even I've encountered this.
Yeah. So essentially, how Copilot's worked is it's been trained on the entire repository. Is it only the OSS, or is it OSS and public? Is it only the public or public and private repos on GitHub?
I think it's only I think it's only the public stuff, which would at least make it slightly better.
Now, as far as I'm aware,
I don't know for sure.
They trained it on literally everything they could get their hands on from GitHub in the public repos, and literally fed it so that it could have a predictive model for it. Which, okay, all of this is open source code on GitHub. Me and you could download this and train something on it if we had money, time, and half a brain cell to work out how the fuck to do it.
The actual resources to scale something to that level.
Yeah, like it is not. Well, actually no. I'm not gonna lie. For me, that's physically impossible to do. I'm way too stupid for that. I'm happy to admit this, but like, it is something that could be done. Now, the problem there, ethically, is you're training it on other people's work without credit.
Yeah, I think that when this debate started, it was, look, we all know the risks. We're putting open source. We're putting our work. Okay, we have licenses for this. We're putting it into GitHub, knowing full well. And I have to obviously specifically say when it comes to open source GitHub, because that's what this product is. So if your open source is on GitLab or Bitbucket or whatever, then you're obviously off scot-free. But you know what open source entails, and therefore what's the big deal was the question of and even after the Microsoft acquisition of GitHub, the one of the first massive business decisions they made is, look, your private repos are now free. You also have no restriction. As a free account, you can put as much code on there as possible, whether you want it to be seen or whether you don't want it to be seen. And as lots of people have pointed out, if something is totally free, we know what Google are like, right? You're the product. And a lot of people in defense of Copilot said, look, it's quite good. It's been very helpful. But at the end of the day, you're chucking on this stuff. They're hosting it for free. They're making a product out of they're making a product out of stuff that is just that you've volunteered. What I don't see what the problem is here. And people are defending this more sort of vocally than I thought they would. I couldn't think of how to express where I thought ethically was a perfect example of where it was going wrong until Aaron Bassett did it for me online. And he did a perfect case, which was Microsoft have donated nothing to the Python Software Foundation ever. And yet, if you use Copilot, the paid version, because it is paid now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to autocomplete something, it will then spit out Django-specific code. There's the ethics of the money about the fact that, okay, we're spitting out code that has trained on all this code, and therefore, who owns it? But you're not giving anything back to the community that created it in the first place anyway, and they need it. They need the support. And also, what if that code is GPL3? Who owns what you're spitting out? Ethics conundrum everywhere.
Unlicensed?
I didn't even think of what the code was unlicensed. Like, well, then who owns it?
We know that GPL3 is a disease. Stallman's worst STD.
I like trying to sort of stray away from general, really trash fiery kind of controversy, but in this case, I will give Stallman no time of day.
Yeah,
he can go.
The idea behind GPL3, good. The implementation, terrible, because it literally acts as a virus and infects everything, which for commercial software is just a complete pain in the bum. But yeah, unlicensed. So if your code is written under Apache, Variant, MIT, etc., like, okay, you know what? Copilot, how hard would it be for you to dump out a license list of where the source code for this has come from, where the guesses are from, where the models have done your work from? Cool. But what if it's unlicensed? Because if it's unlicensed, I believe that means it's rights reserved to the owner.
And none of this would matter if this was left as a tool for open source maintainers, which is where product owners of Microsoft must have had some very strange discussions about this. For those who don't know, Copilot is actually free for open source maintainers. If you say you say you prove, if you say I am this person and therefore I maintain this library, you're giving it for free. Maybe that's their attempt to try and gloss things over. But there's a proprietary model. It's not expensive, but that's not the point. The point is nothing to do with the expense. No one's arguing about the expense. It's, in fact, for the amount of money they've spent on the machine learning, it's extremely reasonable. Future ethics, big problem. So if it's whatever it is it $5 a month or something like that? I can't remember. What is it again?
$10.
So it's $10 for $10 a month for something that's spitting out machine learning trained code that was unlicensed. What I foresee is this is going to have a kind of landmark court case in about 2 years. I don't know where it's going to come from or who it's going to be, but it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, somebody is going to hang on. I didn't allow for this because was there? I don't remember there being a thing about we're changing our terms and conditions at GitHub for this.
Yeah, but terms and conditions things usually kind of fly under the radar, and there's like a small vocal minority that pick up on these things, shout to the world and say, this is going to be terrible, and no one pays attention. It's like what governments do when they just sort of slip something under the hood, right? It's like, no one's going to notice this. Also, here's a news story about an MP farting into a balloon, and that's where the news is, and definitely not the really bad thing.
I hate the fact that you're correct in every way.
But this is the only reason I do this podcast, is that Mike occasionally tells me I'm correct. He never tells me. No one tells me I'm correct ever.
It's too easy.
So
sorry, stop being a troll.
I don't know if there's anything more to discuss. I don't know where we're going with it.
Well, no, it's just I think it's something that's worth bringing up because, like, not everybody's going to have heard of it because some people avoid reading this level of bad news because why do you want to bring that much pain into your life? And eventually, me and you were going to talk about this. May as well have just done it on the podcast.
That's a good way of thinking about it. I like that. But I mean, that's effectively what the tech off topic podcast is, isn't it? Pretty much, it's basically just like the pub chats, but just happening
in public
for people to actually see, and for poor souls to actually listen to on Spotify.
Normally, I would be I would have a beer with me, but unfortunately, I had beer last night, and the only thing left on my table is whiskey. So no,
that would make things very interesting.
Right? Do you want to slap me with one that you think is going to be hilarious?
Oh, I mean, hilarious is I'm a very, like, my sense of humor is just classically sort of British and droll, and it's all sort of dour, like so I find humor in sort of terrible situations, and then so I find this one. I don't know. I've got the next two on the list of the agenda, and I don't know which one to pick because they're both equal. They're both sort of awful. One of them is just like a sort of a light ethics awful, which is similar to what we've discussed already with Copilot. The other one is just awful. So I don't know which one to pick. Maybe we should do like if we now that we've got the ball rolling regular with a podcast, if we do like Mike's Happy Corner with a jingle, like Mike, like with the rainbow theme tune, Mike's Happy Corner, and it's something positive. Like the and finally that you get on news things like and finally tonight a dog was stuck up a tree and some people came and rescued it and now it reads Shakespeare. That's what we should have.
Hang on, didn't Krasinski do this during the pandemic where the world is full of shit news? So here's some nice stuff.
That's true. Yeah. So basically we should plagiarize like GitHub Copilot.
Ooh.
Zinger there.
How to turn it back on the sassy.
I'm going to go for I'm going to go for something that's dear to my heart because I'm a product of I have an engineering career and now a developer relations career because of the tech community and because of meetup spaces, and I just threw myself into them. That's why I do what I do. I didn't know that it was a double trash fire this week. I thought it was one trash fire. So I'll go through the first one, which then led to people on a Slack telling me about the other thing that happened in the previous week, which was, I don't know, sort of worse. And to be honest, the second bit, I'll give you a little teaser. It's probably apt that sort of Stallman came up because it's a bit like there's echoes of that.
I'm deeply concerned.
A lineup was announced. Mike, you're always concerned with what, but the only thing that really concerns you is whether I'm going to talk about Birmingham or not. A conference lineup was announced yesterday or 2 days ago. Can't remember. And we are in 2022. That is the year. And you don't think that this is going to happen and it happens, and you think, I don't understand how this is still happening. It's a Kubernetes conference in Berlin. You know a couple of the speakers personally. I know this because I do as well. There's 41 speakers for this conference in Berlin. Every single one is a man. Every single one, bar 2, are white men. How's that happening? 41 slots. And
I'm actually just re-reviewing it because, like, I opened up the link and went, it's just a Kate's thing, obviously. And then now I'm actually quickly, it's like, oh, feck knuckles.
It's Kubernetes Community Days Berlin, and
you are correct. And like, I do know a couple, but
there's probably some mutuals as well. But the important thing is, okay,
just having a black and white photo doesn't include increased diversity, people.
You can say that. You could say that, oh, it's a community effort and we didn't know how to do it, but okay, you can't do that with this. There's 41 speakers, and also it's part of the Cloud Native Foundation, who seemingly seem to be making very, very poor decisions all of the time now when it comes to anything community related. It seems to be a sort of a business money machine of its own making that's answerable. It's like FIFA, it's answerable to nobody. How Cloud Native let this fly is like a mystery. Don't really know how.
I must admit, in the last 12 months, I have removed myself from the CNCF ambassador program for this reason.
Yeah, and there are stories, and then there's various others that if you get some of the inside track about what's going on, that it's even worse under the hood. But there are lots and lots of it seems like a quarter of the budget is being spent on gagging orders, which tells you that it's probably not that good for a tech community if that's happening. It's being called out. I haven't seen. I've seen some responses, but they're from people from the sort of the wider CNCF who are saying we need to organize. This is a community event. We didn't have control over it, but we're now trying to address it with them. What's going on, and what's going on under their the organizers' heads when you put it out and you're like, this seems fine. Who thinks that's fine?
I have just noticed that they have there's a section, Code of Conduct. The Kubernetes Community Days are dedicated to providing a harassment-free experience for participants at all events.
Yeah,
that is literally it. That is a one-liner.
It doesn't feel like a properly thought-out code of conduct, and it's also worth noting that it's incredibly insulting to anyone that is not a white male, that they have a special diversity ticket section about how you qualify to get a free ticket if you're part of the diversity and inclusivity. And you're like, okay, but you've got that wrong from the start, haven't you?
Yep.
We need. I feel we need people to be more vocal in terms of an ally of this thing, and I think that one of the replies to a well-known DevOps influencer was, "Why are you being sexist by picking on men?" And you're like, "Come on, man! You need to read the room, really." It's just a hilarious response. We need to do better as a like. There needs to be more people calling out this. It just needs to, under the hood, this needs to not happen ever, particularly at something of this size, because this happens quite a lot still, but I haven't seen a tech event with this size like this for a while.
Yeah, there's something I read that's along this line yesterday. Have you heard about the Tuple open source vacation program?
Do you know what? I didn't even put that into the agenda, but That's really got my goat this week as well.
You've literally just triggered something because I've gone, right, you know what? The actual event so Kubernetes Community Days, you know what? We should be supporting localized community events because, let's put it this way, not everybody can afford to fly their ass out to Vegas to go to the big CNCF events like KubeCon, etc. Not everybody can afford to do that. Not everybody's company can afford to do that. Not everybody's family life can allow them to do that. So these community events, yes, we should be going CNCF, bring it to the people who actually bloody build stuff, not just your high-paying sponsors. However, if you're going to do it, how about having the local community have an actual say in it? And how about you follow the guidelines from the Apache organization, which hasn't been great, but because they've been called out enough, kind of balance and try and make shit not look fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's an age-old debate, isn't it, of grassroots stuff, of where things go wrong a lot of the time is not having your ear to the ground.
It's when I've just gone and looked at their for specifically these guys, their organization panel. They're all major organizers or heads of marketing.
Sometimes
Microsoft.
Sometimes these things write themselves.
Yeah.
To go on a rant that was related. It's to do with the vacation thing. The vacation thing is weird. It's just weird. I'm sorry.
I'm not against it, but don't give them a holiday. Give them the bloody money.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, there's a company thing. What they say is a kind of tuple or top, whatever, however you pronounce it. They're running a competition and they're going to send 3 open source maintainers for a free $30,000 trip, send them on vacation for free as recognition for their work in open source. There are big problems with this. The people that are being nominated and the people that are winning in what is essentially a popularity contest, which is real trash firing, I hate it, is that I tweeted about this because I got so annoyed about it, is that these people are already, in some cases, millionaires who head up consultancy over massive frameworks, enormous software projects. They do not need to be sent on a free holiday. We need to give money to combat the original topic of this conversation, which is the fact that 41 male speakers are speaking at a major conference. That's what you need to spend money on, is dealing with that and making tickets available and flying people in to make sure that your events and your audience are mixed like which should be in humanity, right? That's my major problem with it. It doesn't help that the major writer of the framework that I write the most in PHP land posted a picture of his custom Lamborghini in the framework's branding and colors, not branding colors. But to be fair, they've worked hard for it. So you can show that off, that's fine. But then when they're top of the pile for getting a free holiday, you're like, what do you mean? None of this adds up.
Oh yeah, if somebody like DHH gets put there, like if he's on that list, I haven't scrolled down that list, I will have to cry, just tears of pain and anger. But if he got it and didn't immediately go, thanks, but can you donate this money to any form of program to encourage people to learn to code or something like that, that would be the definition of the worst human ever. And he's already a bit of a prat as it is.
Yeah, I'll admit he's kind of that seems to have accelerated in recent times.
But you know what I mean? Like, okay, so some people, you can't help it. Like, these are nominations, and there's a lot of it. Like, so whose name do you recognize? It's like, Guido from Python, DHH,
but it's
Steve Klabnik.
It's really. If you look at the names, that for this vacation thing, First of all, it's very unusual and it's heavily skewed towards the PHP space, which is a bit already like but why? What?
Yeah.
And then if you take a step back and think about why, it's to do with the marketing machines of those frameworks and how they position themselves. Like, in the Python world, Django and Flask do not have massive marketing machines because because their understanding is this thing is a framework and a tool for developers. What we're not, developers. They're not like what was that sweaty man's name?
I miss Bulmer.
They're not that. They're just like we build this framework to make your life easier. If you like it, you can contribute it because it's open source. That's the people that are leading that list are people that do open source, but it's my way and I need to make a living and I need to make money out of it. Which, if you take the vacation context of it, is fine because you're like, well, actually, that's good. You've found a way of making money out of it. But then being rewarded on top of that when you make a vast amount of money out of open source seems very strange. Which takes me on to my next one is another conference one. And I didn't know about this until we had the first conference one, right? There was an event in Cleveland. This one's a little bit depressing, I'm afraid. Sorry, everyone.
Is this one not in a list?
No, it is. Yes,
that one.
Somebody, a prominent speaker in InfoSec, and I don't know much about InfoSec, and the reason I don't know much about InfoSec is because every time anybody describes what the InfoSec community is like, it sounds like the worst toxic nightmare ever.
All I could hear is people were adenoids. We've had this literal conversation like 6 months ago.
You don't know. I'm a professional bug hunter. Oh, just whatever.
Do you do this in hardware?
So when mentioning the Kubernetes conference where it was like this lineup is terrible, someone then piped up and said, "Oh yeah, on the back of this thing last week," and I was like, "What's this thing last week? I missed this." To be fair, it's DevOps, so again, DevOps stuff I'm always sort of adjacent to, but I don't really, I've started partaking a bit more in sort of DevOpsy stuff.
Oh, that was the button. But it's also correct.
It's a prominent person in InfoSec got banned from DEF CON in February. I'm reliably informed that getting banned from DEF CON is basically the last resort to anything because it's one of the worst conferences for that kind of thing anyway. So they got banned from DEF CON. I'm not going to use correct pronouns. He got banned from DEF CON. Okay, fine. That's a big problem. Everyone recognizes this. And then an event happened last week, and it was in Cleveland, in Ohio. I need to message Chris Tankersley about this. My PHP, my integrations engineer colleague about this to see what he thinks about it. Was it Beeline or something? What was it called?
B-sides.
B-sides. So the B-side,
a really good level, community level event. It's kind of like DevOps Days, but specifically in the InfoSec sector.
Right. So yeah, so one of those sort of World Series type things, and so B-sides Cleveland happened, and they basically snuck this speaker through the back door without telling anybody, which sounds insane. So that he wasn't in the schedule because they knew that if they put him on the schedule, everyone would go, no. By the way, the reason why they got banned from DEF CON, it's not there's no concrete stuff, but then the gossip thing's gone absolutely like everyone's commenting on it. It sounds likely to be sexual harassment. I don't think I'm going to have to fight a libel case by saying that. It's pretty obvious it's something to do with that.
Always just
So they didn't want to say that
suffix
he
it
was
with
speaking.
allegedly, just in case.
Allegedly, exactly. Supposedly. And so they didn't tell anyone, and then they announced they were going to put him on stage. What I don't know, and this really is allegedly, apparently he was going to speak on cancel culture, which, you know, for a community DevOps event, sounds like a very bad idea. And
For
it didn't
any
happen.
event to talk on cancel culture, no.
Yeah, it's cancel culture and woke are the two things that basically put my red flag up. I don't know. Some people would say that's political. It's not political. It's basically, when it comes to people like this, is I'm having to deal with the consequences of my actions, and I don't like it. So yeah. So the shit hit the fan, not funnily enough, and then loads of speakers pulled out of it. And B-Sides Cleveland's leadership have now all resigned, with a formal announcement coming soon, because they spoke to a legal team at B-Sides Global, who presumably said, "Why did you try and sneak a speaker that no one wanted, who has just been banned from a recent event, through the door? This seems like a terrible idea." And I presume it's because they're mates with someone.
Yeah, this isn't like flipping Download Festival and like, the hidden act for the day is Metallica. You know, this is just which is actually something that happened, and I'm really glad it did, because I saw them play doing that. It's that's just a bad idea all the way around, especially when you know the topic is going to be polarizing to begin with. Like,
But
if you know the topic they're going to talk about is polarizing, if you know the speaker is going to be polarizing,
it's a topic that's just not applicable for the space that you're in. And also, you're supposed to have a code of conduct. Your attendees are supposed to feel safe with where they are, and throwing that out, it's like getting, Uncle Bob Martin basically moan about. Do you know what? Do you know what would be a fantastic keynote? Would be Uncle Bob Martin and Graham Linehan moaning about how society has done them wrong. That'd be hilarious. And then we could record it and just play it back to everyone and have lols at it. I want to know what Mike's looking at.
No, that was just me. I was literally just searching up the B-side stuff just so it's like I could get more of an idea.
Oh, to get up to date with it.
Because I didn't read that one, because that's one that we dropped in half an hour ago.
True. That's true. I just
an hour before stream.
Yeah. Do you know what? I completely forgot. Well, also I only found out about it this morning. So
I was just having a bit more, and it's just like, you know what?
We're returning.
No, anyway, can we go to a happier place?
We can, yeah. We're returning to events, right? And the only thing I want is, I'm really excited about events in person coming back and getting bigger, but just not this.
That's just because you want to be able to flap your mouth at people,
which I do online anyway, so it doesn't really make that much difference.
We have just been told we need to follow InfoSec people on Twitter. It's amazing. Twitter's enough of a trash fire to begin with. I don't want to add more fuel to that.
The only thing for the InfoSec space I ever remember was Ian Coldwater with his "Look it up, baby, it's got my name on it." And that was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen on Twitter, of somebody thinking they were very important get absolutely owned by the person that reported the bug in the first place. I wonder if you type that into Google, what happens. What's Mike? What's your happy place?
I was going to go. Let's go on to your Laravel topic, because this one is one that's really close to my heart.
Okay, this one's an ethics one. It's very look. One of us is a PHP developer advocate, so I'd be doing my job badly.
That disease.
If I've got to talk for you when it comes to tool shaming, about how you shouldn't slate other people's languages. Do you remember a really interesting Reddit post, like a joke Reddit post, where it was it was a joke about Ruby versus PHP, and it was like the the battle lines, the battlefield is set, and the Ruby devs all line up behind DHS, and the Rails lot all sharpen their knives, and then they face off against the army, the massive 3 times as big army of PHP. But then the symphony soldiers all straighten out their sort of casual business attire, and the Laravel developers all casually look in the mirror and see JavaScript devs in the mirror, and then adjust their mustaches and enjoy their coffee. It's a really funny and slightly accurate kind of comedy post on Reddit about the state of whole kind of communities, how they work. Somebody has done a comment today on Twitter, and it's pretty accurate. The frameworks in the PHP world are very much going their separate ways, and it's very strange to see it happen. Originally, something called the what was the foundation? The PSR, which is the standard. No, the framework interoperability group. That was it. The FIG, the PHP FIG, which was right. If you want a service container, if you want a request, if you want a response, if you want a coding style, we have written it. All of the frameworks now sign up to be part of the FIG, and you adhere to the standards.
Yeah,
and it worked really, really well. In fact, it propelled PHP forward into the modern world massively. However,
for the FIG, we wouldn't have been able to have compose, and then we wouldn't have had dependency-based JavaScript, PHP.
Exactly. There's patterns of how it actually worked strongly, and it worked really, really well. Now what's happened is the XKCD thing is happening with 15 standards now exist. So there is lots of people say that this is a controversial thing, and I don't think it's. I think it's. I hope. How many listeners have we got?
Well, 7 active, 20 not.
7 active. Okay. Unfortunately, that means people are going to hear this, so I have to be. I'm not. The thing is, the problem is that I can't be diplomatic about it, because I have an opinion on it, and it's just
having opinions. The whole reason we do this thing, my dude.
Yes, exactly. And then we just sort of draw at people's irk. But I also have to be careful in my job because I need to keep everybody happy. This is the experience that people don't have. If you're a .NET developer advocate, you don't have this problem because you just have to keep the .NET people happy. And you have one thing that compiles and then you write C#, but it's easy. If it's PHP, it's a bit like JavaScript and it's the Wild West. You're trying to keep everybody happy and it's not possible.
Yep.
There's a new Laravel product. It's not chargeable, so it's not a product. There's a new Laravel.
Oh, no, you can have an open source product. It can still be a product.
Laravel do products, even if they are open source. So that's the way they do things.
Yeah.
And it's called Laravel Pint. And what it is it's a thing called PHP Code Sniffer, which exists and is complete and has been complete and mature for production for years.
And it's used. Code Sniffer is nearly a decade old at this point.
Yeah, and it's used in production.
I was using it when I was doing production PHP, for God's sakes.
It's a production level toolchain for production ready code for multinational corporations' sites for their standards. Yeah. It's that, but then it also has some code that Laravel put around it. That's their new product, Laravel Pint. And to just do it, you type in a console command and then it pulls Laravel Pint, and you're like, what you've done here is you've put some extra nice CLI styling, but it's a problem we've already solved. You don't need this at all. And it's a very Laravel-y thing to do because they do it with Laravel Artisan Tinker, which is the special. It's amazing. It's a shell into your application. You can write PHP code on the fly and then actually query the database in your ORM and stuff like that. But they didn't create Tinker. That's a thing called SciShell. Laravel Octane is Laravel contained that then uses what's it called? They uses Swool, or now OpenSwool, under the things that exist. I know that I'm saying
Yeah.
words and people might not go like, I don't know. It's things that exist, and then you wrap them. What's not a good thing to do, right?
Yes and no. So I have opinions on this because, unlike Jim, I say this in the nicest way. I've actually worked on products which are open source first, that then are repackaged as a SaaS. Jim's very, very lucky to work at a proprietary company with a shit ton of open source on top of it, which is a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, it's our tooling is open source for our developers, so that is different.
Yeah, but your core product is a proprietary thing. No, unless you work at Vonage, nobody sees the inside of that. Whereas I've been on the other side of it, which is, we have Grafana, open source, but this is how we've made it into a SaaS for people. So repackaging things with a nice, tidy wrapper around them to make life easier, I'm actually not against, because I've worked for companies that have done it. What I'm against is not actively saying this is what it is. Like, I'm just going through the Twitter thread, and I've just gone through the GitHub README for it. They've said at the very end, like, here's our open source toolchain underneath. They have at no point said that we are just a friendly way to interact with this tool that you're already used to.
Yeah, it's the way that it's done. And for the reason why I say I have to be diplomatic is because Laravel is propelling PHP. Laravel and Symfony in very, very different spaces are propelling PHP forward when
have been for years now, unfortunately. So
a state that when it could have been dying, right? And there are new devs that are actually getting into Laravel, and that's the work that the team and that Taylor has put into this is phenomenal, and therefore, they very much have their right to be at the table. But the way that things like this work, I'm not happy with. In the case you're talking about, so if we go to it's Termwind. Where's the there we go. If you go to the Laravel Pint GitHub repo, Pint is built on top of PHP CS Fixer and makes it simple to ensure that your code style stays clean and consistent. The clean and consistent part of it is like the artisan bit of it, and it's the whole Laravel branding of clean, concise code and makes it elegant and blunt. That's marketing words.
Yeah.
Pint is built on top of PHP CS Fixer. The product is PHP CS Fixer. That's what it is. Under the hood, the whole thing of a mature, production-ready code sniffer is there, and you've taken that, and then you could then put a console command into it, which is fine. I'm not sure I agree with your marketing approach for this.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. Which is yeah, as I said, it's a shame because there is nothing wrong with taking something that exists and making it better in the way of usability, UX, or toolchain. There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes it's against the philosophy of the tool itself to directly contribute back. There are some tools that, no, we do not want to be a CLI. We do not want to have a UI interpretation. At no point is this ever going to be a packaged app. Cool. I'm okay with this. But if your marketing is, so we've bundled this up so it's easier for you to use, if you're not being really, really obvious with it, then you're just being misleading.
And they're not being obvious about it. But the point about the FIG, the kind of the FIG group thing that I was talking about is that Laravel is actually going its own way, and Symfony is going its own way. And I think both of the frameworks have made some, quite frankly, sort of unusual choices. But what this has culminated in from a wide, and this is important, way outside of PHP is somebody. I'm going to give a shout out to them because someone commented on this, and it was really it was a bit too on the nose. Where can I drop this? I'm going to drop it in the private chat. This is Matthias Novak, and he said, I hereby would like to coin the term framework imperialism. This can be used to describe the phenomenon that a framework takes something that's free, in a sense independent, as well as created and maintained pro bono, and claims it as its own. Two of my favorite frameworks, unfortunately, have a tendency to do this. Laravel keeps on wrapping tools that are free like this and rebrands them, i.e. PHP Stan. He doesn't name it, but it's Laristan. Reactor, I don't know what that is. PHP CS Fixer is what we're talking about. Symfony keeps on creating components that already exist, but not in a Symfony namespace. With Laravel, it seems to be making these tools more opinionated and beautiful. With Symfony, it seems to be about decoupling them from third-party libraries and making releases more stable. Symfony has got that sort of WordPress thing where their big selling point is stability. Just scroll down to get this other. Yeah, their main kind of takeaway of this is there's more vendor lock every day, and it'll get us in trouble, and it's not needed. If we could all just let these projects exist on their own and not condition developers to the idea that everything needs to be their favorite framework branded on top of it. And this comes to some of the Laravel core team saying that they're really proud that developers are saying, I'm not a PHP developer, I'm a Laravel developer. And that's problematic to me. You need to be it's written in PHP. How should not be a PHP developer? It makes no sense.
WordPress developers.
React as well. You could pick any of these things where someone goes, well, I'm specifically a React developer because it's so complicated. Okay, but you're limiting yourself to.
Yeah, but no, I get it. Now the horrible thing is, I remember a time 10 years ago where when you were building something, you were stuck in a stack. So JavaScript, you were only building MERN or mean, and you were only building Symfony or Zend. There was no, you're freestyling. You're not picking and choosing pieces. You're not going like if you back in the day of earlier Symfony, where no, you're not using any client-side library. You're using Twig. That is what you do. If or like Laravel, the very version 1 and version 2 of Laravel, where it's like, you can build Laravel. You're using Blade. You're not using anything else. You are following our opinionated process. And then there was a period where the frameworks and stuff realized, hang on, developers actually know what they're bloody talking about. They know what they need to use. We don't need to shove down their throats what they must use at all times. And now it's kind of pinwheeling back on itself. And everybody's beautifying their framework and stuff in a, well, if you use us, you get all of this extra gubbins that you don't necessarily need. But now you must use it.
I like
Laravel originally was, we're going to be clean. It's configuration over code. If you need something, just add the relevant module, add the relevant plugin, add the relevant extra library that you require, rather than write it yourself. Kind of the JavaScript style of insert by dependency. JavaScript is also completely to blame for this as well. But it used to be like, you can install the bits you need. Now it's getting to the point where if you don't use all our stuff, you're not a true developer with our stack.
It's not necessarily the sort of the code philosophy behind it that I have a problem with. It's that I have a problem with, which is the closing of the ecosystem. Like I said, being proud that people are declaring themselves as Laravel developers is not good at all. And I don't know. You can't. I don't think you can level that accusation towards major JavaScript frameworks, because you could say that about React, but it's such a massive wild west out in JavaScript land that you could say about anything. Whereas PHP would still whittle it down, and also we're separated out between content management systems that are semi-frameworks and the ones that then got frameworks underpinning them. So it's a bit like, I'm working in Drupal at the moment, and Drupal's underpinned by Symfony now, which is probably a smart design move, but makes it quite a bit tricky to work with.
We have a comment that actually makes complete sense, and I think you'd agree with it. Is that because engineers don't have the time to explore and learn anymore? Pick a framework, use what they tell you. No one has ever been sacked for using framework X. I'm a Laravel dev because I know all the Laravel internals. I know which Laravel plugins, Socialite, etc. to use to get your app built.
It goes that kind of skill set and approach, like, does that kind of tunnel vision down to agency work. It's great for agency work. If you're a Symfony agency,
if you're a rinse and repeat agency,
then you will be the best in the business, and you'll be paid probably quite a large amount of money, and you will feel comfortable in your job because you will understand the tools that you're working with. If you understand the way that the framework it's an open source framework, it's written in PHP. If you understand the underpinning way that it works, then the good news is you can get a job anywhere that uses the language. So I find that kind of scenario a nightmare. And what when people are starting out and they ask me, like, okay, I'm just sort of starting out, or I'm boot camper, or not even a boot camper, where should I go? And I'll point them to the same places every time. I'll point them to the Python community every time. You've got, like, well supported, opinionated. You've got now 3 frameworks. You've got Django for your full kitchen sink. You've got Flask, and then if you want an alternative Flask, you've got Fast API. And all opinionated, so that brain capacity for learning new stuff is just learn those bits. And it's the single thing that's written in Python, but don't be a specialist in it. Just, whereas, I mean, in JavaScript, we certainly don't have it, right? Especially then you've like, do I even write JavaScript anymore when I write TypeScript?
Oh, that you get there.
There's more complications being thrown into the mix.
I know, because then there was also the fact there's not only is there framework opinionated points. So in React, you can choose to do the function or the class style of creating your components. At which point there are people who shout at you if you write in one or the other. On top of that, you then have
and that's like the base level decisions of when you're starting out. If you're like, I'm going to change career and I want to learn how to code, I'm going to go for the front end. Here is React. You now have 2 completely different ways of writing components.
Yeah.
Which one is it? I mean, it's up to me. Teach me.
Now you got a point.
So
now I'm feeling depressed.
I totally sympathize with that comment of like, do devs just like not have the time for this anymore? And I guess I would say, like, probably yes. Because I'm, as a PHP advocate in my role, I'm supposed to keep up with about sort of 7 frameworks, and some of them are sort of semi-frameworks, and I don't know.
Nah, just go to Slim. Just go to Slim. Everything needs to be Slim.
All of my examples are running Slim. If I have to do an interview, I write a demo in Slim because it's Slim. It's like, hey, this is a bit like JavaScript Express. It's great.
Except JavaScript Express hasn't been updated in over 2 years. The single
I don't believe you, but I'm now going to find out that that's true.
I am literally going there. Express version 5 beta documentation is available. If you then go to the getting started,
What the website I'm giving you?
installing,
Expressjs.com. No,
it's just
Express.js.
and then we go to npm.js.com. Go search Express, fast unopinionated, which it is, by the way. Last version was published 2 months ago for 4.1.8.
But what was in it? Was it minor bug fixes?
I believe it was minor bug fixes.
Express generator expresses and oh god, everything is so modular these days, and I love monoliths; they're great.
I'm like, where is that? Where are the tags? I forgot. Where are your tags? Show me the tags, or it's not real. What is fundamentally wrong with me?
481.
Fix. Literally, it was 1.6 commits. Fix hanging on large stack of sync routes.
It's dependencies. It's just I'm looking at it and like the last release, which was that was okay. That's version 4. Let's look at 5. That's which is beta.
Version 5 was released in February, and that's still in beta. Version 4 of React.
This is as far as I'm aware, this is the de facto starting point for a backend in Node, right? I get that we have things like Remix and
Happy, Nuxt,
Adonis, and is Nuxt backend stuff? As well?
I think Nuxt has like a routing library for doing some back. No, not Nuxt. Next.
Terrible naming.
Next.js, which is React with a back-end routing engine via APIs.
For Express, I'm slightly worried about 105 issues and 46 pull requests. That scares me.
You're not alone there. Don't worry, you're not alone. But yes, it's a scarily, and now my Friday has been. I had such a wonderful stream yesterday. I was definitely not sober. I had cake. I made an absolute joke of myself, and now this. Oi.
But what you needed to have was a dose of reality, and bring Jim into a stream, and then start talking like sort of super depressing kind of. If we want some happy stuff, there is happy stuff, and it's not the AI thing that creates a triptych of generated images. Do you know the one I mean? It's hold on a minute. It was, what was it called? Dali, after Dali. So
hang on, as in after Salvador Dali, as in after Melty Penis Man.
Melty Clocks, yeah. So here we go. I refuse to believe. that Mike has not actually seen this. So it's someone's trained a neural network, and all you do is you put in what you want to see in the title, and that is it.
I have not seen this.
How have you not seen this? I don't understand how you've not seen this. You can put in anything. Usually takes about a minute to generate something. And the thing I've posted to you is an account called Weird Dali Generations, and it's just the best of that people put in. And some of the images that this thing generates are just absolutely phenomenally good. Kim Jong getting slimed at the Kids' Choice Awards. Pineapple with an office job. Pineapple with an office job.
Beret.
It's just a pineapple with clip art pictures kind of around it. The AI has done this and pulled the stuff from the internet. There's one called Steak, but it's cake, and it's just cakes that just look like beef.
Snoop Lightyear, Jesus Christ. Okay, that's put a smile on my face. That has definitely made up for the depression. Depression. Oh Jesus.
We're Hillary Clinton in UFC. Oh, I really enjoyed this one. So, by the way, if anyone wants to waste time, go and look at this the
I'm
handle
going to
for
drop the
Twitter is
Reddit for it.
it's called Weird Dali, and it's just the best of people that have just typed in stuff, and you're like, this is the best thing ever. Voldemort meets the annoying orange. That one is special. That one is really. I can't believe that this is AI that's managed to put this together.
Let's put it this way. That's brilliant because I'm so used to AI going, time to be racist, or something stupid like that. And now we have something we're going to do stupid, but in a fun and relatively family-friendly way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's there's a way of harvesting our data out of it that means that they make money. I think they genuinely just trained a bot and then said,
Let
"Do you
it
know
onto
what?
the internet."
This thing you should have this." Sorry, I've just seen the entry for blobfish ice cream, and it's perfect. Um, and it probably cost them in terms of if you put in blobfish ice cream, or indeed if you put in what this person has put in, which is Donald Trump death metal album cover, and what you get out of it probably costs a considerable amount of money. It's probably burning the planet as well.
Oh yeah,
but the results for your
they're
humor,
developing your NFTs.
Actually, it would be really good if you put board ape but sausages in there. In fact, I'm going to do that now.
Oh god.
What's it, Dali? I'm not going to. I'm not. Once I do this, I'm not going to. I'm not going to sort of wait to see what it turns out. But yeah, it's this is good, honest humor, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can have a laugh from now and again.
You know what? We should officially make it. We should always put a point on the agenda of something for a giggle rather than depression.
Yeah, like I said, and finally.
And finally, we're just not calling it Mike's Happy Corner because I'm a depressive little shape.
Mike's Happy Corner. And on that note, it's probably time for me to shoot. I think we covered the depressing and the happy.
Yeah, we have. Now, just before we do go our separate ways, and I'm going to go find some more sunlight to get my dose of vitamin D. We didn't actually put any outro stuff in that we normally do. Like I was thinking about this. It's like, do we want to pimp out tech mids?
I'll tell you what. Because I have to actually shoot. What I could do is spare everyone's ears and drop me out, and then you can actually plug what tech mids is.
That's the problem. I was trying to find information about it. I can't. So I'll skip that one for the next time then. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining. Once again, thank you, Jim, for bringing the giggles as normal and accepting my trolley banter.
I wouldn't say there's giggles. I would say it's more the sort of the depressing stuff. Tech is depressing sometimes, but we also have happy times.
But right. So thanks very much. We'll put this out on the podcast and we will see you again at a later date. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.